What about new guys? Maybe I'll answer like if I'm talking to a prospect on the phone. Or often I'll say you'll learn it inside the system because it's too easy to get stuck on the phone for an hour. People call and figure that they'll catch you. The reality check is when somebody is extremely busy, that becomes impossible. Think about it. If you paid somebody $100 and they promise support by phone 24/7, obviously that's going to be a fallacy. If you call them with an hour's worth of questions and you're on the phone with them for an hour, they can only take 6 calls a day. It's 6 hours. That leaves them maybe 2 hours to answer emails. And you can answer more emails from more people faster than you can phone calls, I'll tell you that. I mean, I turn to my email much faster than I turn to my phone. Phone's the last thing I get to because it takes the longest. Because if I hop on the phone with somebody, I'm passionate and we'll get talking. I'll get people thinking outside the box because it's interesting and it's helpful and it empowers people. And the next thing I know, I'm on the phone for an hour. Well, it's wrong for me to do it one person at a time because it kills the business. Here's my wife, here's my kids staring up at me, wondering why I'm too slow taking care of things. Or theoretically, I'm just saying that theoretically because things are going well. But the fact of the matter is, it is wrong for me to answer the phone and only charge you $30 and promise support because it's impossible. The more people join, the more people trying to reach me at the same time, the harder it's going to be to reach me. Think staff. Problem is that I have to support a staff. I can't do it on that kind of pay. If you pay once, do not expect ongoing support on a phone unless you paid a lot of money. All right, $5,000 jobs, $20,000 jobs, whatever they are, or anything else. Then you have basically paid for many man hours of time. All right, and that will cover a lot of good, exhaustive question and answer sessions that answer all the objections, questions, issues, and situations, take care of glitches, tweaks, anything else it takes. That's how that goes. But if a guy has a forum, if he has a ticket submission system, if they demand that you respond to them in print and not on the phone, there you go. There's the way of the internet. Just like don't expect people to sign long-winded contracts written on paper and sent with several pages. It requires lawyers to review. Nobody wants to do that, and nobody should for the same, and I'd rather just not accept the business. It's simple. A guy calls me and says, hey, I want you to fill out this contract. I must say, no, go away. I'll say, I'll lose my business. I'll say, fine. That's one less high maintenance client. Okay, and that's a very big important issue. Um, but forums are excellent ways of propagating training and keeping people interested, and then other people can help you answer questions just because they're practicing and getting better at the topics themselves. Things like that are important. Forums are. You know. Let me see. Now that I've pretty much beat this thing nuts. Oh, by the way, how does corruption go? Guy says submit your search engine to 20,000 or submit your website to 20,000 search engines. And guys who understand models like me recognize what his neighbor will do. Hey, I'll submit your website to 50,000 search engines. That's how I compete with that guy. I just throw in a better number. It's the same lie, but that's how you wind up with 16,400,000 results for submit your website to search engine because 12 million it's not really true. It might be more like 500,000, it might be a million people have realized, and it's not even people, it's websites because many of these are going to come off the same sites. Ultimately, they're different pages from the same sites. Reality check though is, maybe 250,000 people, maybe 100,000 people have figured out that if they tell you that lie, they'll get away with it because there's no way you can really verify the results objectively. Okay? And no one is going to dig that deep for $30. All right? So instead of submit your website to 20,000 search engines for $30, well, we'll submit your website to 50,000 search engines for $20 or 18 or 17 or 45 or 145. Anything to make it work but still keep the number in small claims court territory when anybody figures out you're lying. And then it comes right back down to the whole geographic mess of trying to prove if somebody actually owes you or not. I mean, just the cost of getting a lawyer to verify what needs to be taken to court puts the thing outside of small claims court territory. Why do you think so many things are cheap online when they're sold to the masses? Everyone's just protecting themselves. It's not even a thing of corruption. Now, it is used corruptively by a lot of people. I'm not going to name names because I'm not trying to. I'm not even naming names because I know who's who. I'm just saying, I've had a lot of instances and grew up through a lot of circumstances, and I understand a lot of things now. I don't keep a list of names around, but when I recognize, because I'm clear on modeling, when I recognize things that aren't going to work, I recognize them because I've been there, done that. Let's talk about pay to read email because it's a more complex system. We've already covered the basics. 100% supply, no demand, bad idea. Um, something that requires mass work. Submit your search engine to 20, or your website to 20,000 search engines. Can't be cheap for 30 bucks. People tell you that they're going to support you all the time on the phone and everything else, and it's going to be cheap. And the thing would require support. Not going to work. You know, there's a lot of others models, but let's keep going because these are important to grasp. What about pay to read email? Here is a model that's a little different because these guys, and I'll just use one particular example where I came in. When I was very young and trying to find my way up the ladder, I got into a pay to read email program through a particular company. And on that program, I realized, discovered and understood how it worked best I could, and then I kept learning as I went along. But anyway, I actually started to make it work. I got to the point where I got them 6,400 signups. I realized the right market would be students in a university would do this thing. It's an MLM. Okay, pay to read email is an MLM, and here's how it works. Let's talk about the supply side first. Like I said, the company does take care of supply and demand separately. It's a two-legged program. Actually, it's a three-leg program. I'll get into that last though. What they'll do is they'll run off to supply and say, hey, we have 180,000 readers, of our ads every day. These are people who sign up to read spam, and they get paid a tiny, tiny little portion of money to read it. But they don't even say that. They say we have 108,000 readers. They hold the bit back about the incentive until last of all, but then they have a good story. If the guy says, well, how do you maintain these readers, 108,000? The answer is we pay them smidgens of money, 0.17 cents to open each spam and read it. But it's 108,000 people that will come and do it because it's an affiliate program. And so as they get other people to come and do it, then they earn 1.7 times them and the people they brought in, who brought in people 7 levels deep or some such thing. Okay, as wide as you want maybe, so this thing could be lucrative. And it was in our case, the exponential increase in income from month to month to month was staggering. I think my first month I made 23 cents. I don't know. My next month I made something like $5.20, but my next month I was up to 16, and the next month was going for 40 odd, and then it backtracked. And I couldn't figure it out at first. It's like, what the hell happened? It went backwards. Pay went down, massive and fast. And that has to do with the rest of the modeling. Here's how this goes. The supplier's going to pay, 350 bucks for a month of advertising in the system where, however many of his ads are going to be shown. That's how it works, right? Now, people in the MLM, is they're earning more, and they're just looking at cool little ads for stuff like this whole, giant hose that sort of accordions itself into a small hose or whatever, lays perfectly flat so you can wrap it really easily, but it's still a massively long hose. All kinds of little tools like the little antenna layer you could stick in your cell phone battery case that would amplify the antenna signal. It'd eat the hell out of your battery, but it would amplify the signal dramatically. It'd have an incredibly strong cell phone signal, right? All sorts of little cool gimmicks like that were not expensive. Okay, and therefore the affiliate system who's reading the mails, as they're earning more, the guys at the top and then the next level, then the next, as they're earning, then and working up these, they keep seeing many of these same ads, and they kind of get acclimated to saying, gee man, as soon as I earn the money, I'm going to buy that one. And so the guys at the top of the MLM start buying the freaking products. Do you get it? And the guys at the next level down start doing the same thing. And especially when you're directing this at students, university students, a really good market. I had the right idea, and I went through university directories and figured out automation tools to snatch all the email addresses off a page, and I mass blasted them because student email addresses back then especially were public domain, and they, generally speaking, they are now anyway. It's just that universities are better about securing the databases to make it hard for you to reach. But if you're reaching the students, not the faculty, not the people behind the scenes running accounting and stuff, just the students,